So tell me about your upbringing.
Well, I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, and I think when I was around 4 years old, my mother, she had dreams of being a chef and opening her own restaurant. So she moved to LA to pursue those dreams, and there went her children. Two of them stayed in St. Louis, but three of us, me, my younger brother and sister, moved to LA with her. So I kind of grew up almost like the oldest kid in the house, even though I was the middle child. So I was pretty much raised in Inglewood and West Covina and a little bit of Pomona when I got older. When I moved in with my uncle when I was 13 years old, I ditched my mom and kind of like ran away a little bit and moved in with my uncle because we weren't seeing eye to eye on some things. And I've always been one of those girls that knew what she wanted to do and wasn't going to let anybody stop me. So
yeah. So what was the actual argument between you and your mom? The problem?
Her boyfriend. I didn't like him. He was a drug user. So was she, but he wasn't my father, and he was always telling me what to do and trying to force me to work in her restaurant. And I was an athlete. I had games, I had practice, and if I wasn't having games or practice, I was working out. Even as a kid, I knew I was going to be a professional athlete, and so he was just always harassing me about it. And then one day he physically assaulted me, and that was the last straw for me. And she didn't defend me, so I left.
Oh, wow. Are you and your mother on good terms now?
No.
Really? Do you feel like you can mend the relationship?
I've been trying for a long time to mend it, and I'm not really sure how to fix it at this point, but I've just decided to separate myself from her because it was toxic to my marriage. And so, that's important to me to keep a strong marital foundation. Anybody that comes in and tries to fuck with that, then, you know what I'm saying, I have a problem. I don't care who you are, including my mother. There's just certain things that I don't tolerate from anybody. And, someone can be your relative, but that doesn't mean that they're family all the time. And I just feel like my mother hasn't been treating me like family for a long time. And I'm just waiting for her to turn over and figure out that, I'm her daughter. And then we will hopefully one day then continue our relationship.
Did you ever think about maybe therapy? I don't know if you're religious or
I've
church.
had to do therapy actually.
Oh, really?
Because of the way I was brought up, because of there was a lot of things that happened to me also, that were, not her boyfriend, but other stuff. And I had to go through therapy because of it, and talk to somebody about it. And I do believe that's part of the reason that I had to do anger management and had to, get myself together, because I grew up so angry as a kid that I have to dial it back and try to get past all that instead of, still having it control my life.
Yeah. So growing up in LA, how did you remain focused on your sport, your game, versus going out partying and everything like that?
Well, my mother always wanted me to be like a beauty pageant and do all those beauty queen girl Barbie dolls. She should put those hard bottom shoes on me and shit. And I was a boy. I always was like a tomboy growing up. And so all I ever wanted to do was play sports. So nothing else was really important to me as a kid. I dreamed of being a professional soccer player, professional basketball player, all these other things that I wanted to do. So I just knew that if I stayed focused on that my life would be great. And that's all I focused on. I didn't care about any of the other stuff. I wasn't fucking in high school. I wasn't doing anything. I was really just focused on sports. And that's all I needed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, did you always want to be a basketball player, or? I
didn't know what sport until I got to college, but I knew basketball was literally my first love, and so there was no WNBA at that time. So I knew that I could go overseas and play, you know what I mean? And then I was just is that really what I want to do? And I was like, yeah, I really do. I find my happy place on the basketball court. So if I could get paid to shoot baskets, that's the goal. That's what I want to do. So I was always just focused on that.
Well, now seeing the WNBA, and you've obviously played overseas, what do you think is better? Do you think playing overseas is way better than here in the States?
Well, overseas is absolutely better financially. Not even a question. But part of the reason that I retired early was because I missed like friends and family coming to my games and seeing me. And you know, when you go home to an empty house, and you know your friends there don't even speak English. You know, it just kind of makes you feel like a loner a little bit, you know, and then it's like, damn, I really love doing this, but I have no one to share it with. Like, I can't even really call my friends after a game. The time difference was so crazy, you know, and it was just like, damn, I'm doing this for money, but I really love it. But I would have loved to be in the WNBA doing it because my family, my friends could have come, but then I wouldn't have gotten the money that I got. So it's kind of like you have to choose. And now the girls are doing both. You know, at that time, you were doing one or the other. Mm-hmm. And since the WNBA wasn't really checking for me that much, I went to a Division II school, so I wasn't really popular like that, but I got buckets, you know. So the European League was more fit for me.
Now, what country did you play for and what position?
I've always been a point guard, but I'm really like an Allen Iverson point guard. I had the nickname Bubba Chuck since I was a kid. I didn't really pass very much. I shoot a lot, so it's kind of like a point two guard. I don't even know what to call that. First country was in New Zealand. I went to Wellington, and then I went to China, Shaanxi, then I went to Istanbul, Turkey, and then I went to Russia, and then I ended in Spain. And the Spain trip was kind of like it was a boyfriend. I met a boy overseas. And so we were trying to reconnect, and so I ended up going over there for us to try to get back together because we had broken up. It didn't work out, so I ended up leaving early and everything, but those are the countries that I played in.
How was adapting with so much cultural differences?
I actually enjoyed that part of it because I've always wanted to see the world. Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't always like the weather differences and stuff, but I had a blast, and Istanbul was easily my favorite country to ever be in. And to this day, I still go back every year to visit my friends that I played with. I didn't go this year because those bombs went off.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to cancel the trip this year. But I usually go to Istanbul every year to go visit my friends and just see the country. Like, I love it there.
Did you ever have scares like that? Like any terrorist attacks or even like just civil outbreaks?
No. See, I'm 41 years old. Mm-hmm. So when I was playing, this was like the late 90s, early 2000s. And a lot of that wasn't really happening. Istanbul and the country, Turkey, we have like an American army base there. So you kind of feel safe when you're in a country where you have an army base, you know, a unit of American people and soldiers that will look out for you. You know, the other countries I didn't have, you know, I was definitely like mindful of where I went and what I did and who I spoke to and, you know, their cultures. And, you know, because when you go to other countries as a woman, you know, you're viewed differently. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't care that you're American, you're a female. So you don't get to walk in front of a man in certain countries and, you know, raise your voice and all those kind of things. So I was mindful of all those things and respected their culture, but it was really fun though. I had a good time.
I mean, you're very outspoken. So, I mean, extremely. How was it biting your tongue?
You know, they didn't bother me. They didn't bother me. When people bother me, then I say something. I don't go out of my way to be outspoken. I say things how I feel, and if somebody attacks me or, you know, comes out of nowhere with some shit, then I'm going to say something back. Mm-hmm. But I don't go out of my way to attack anybody. Yeah. Except Ryan Tannehill.
So, what made you get into radio?
Well, I had a degree in exercise science. From my first undergrad degree was in exercise science. And when I was getting ready to retire around 2006, I was thinking to myself, do I really want to be a sports trainer? Do I really want to be an athletic trainer? And I was like, I don't really want to do this. I want to talk about sports. So I was like, you know what? I see all these NBA players, when they retire, they go right into radio, right into TV, sideline reporting, all this stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do that. And so when I got done, I boom, I hit the scene, like, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then I found out that women have to go to school for broadcasting. Like, they don't always just let us come right in off of retirement, especially if you were only playing overseas. Like, maybe if you were in the WNBA and you were a big-time person, maybe, but you have to go to school. So I went back to broadcasting school and just decided that, you know, this was really my lane. Like, my husband always says, like, yeah, you were supposed to be a professional athlete. He said, but he always thought that my true talent is broadcasting. Mm. And so he said that to me. He's like, that's really what you should have been doing. Like, basketball was just something to propel you into it, because he says I'm really good at it. And I don't know if he's saying that because I'm his wife, but he thinks that, you know, that I'm really good at it. So I got a show. I auditioned for a show with Dennis Scott in Atlanta for a show called 3D After Dark as a radio show. And when I started doing it, I was just like, this is so fun. Like talking about sports, giving your opinion, backing it up with facts, hearing other people's banter back and forth, arguing about it. It's like, it's really fun, and it almost makes you feel like you're still playing. You know, like you're still involved with the sport. So I was just like, I really want to do that. Like, and so I started doing sideline reporting and hosting football camps and basketball camps and all this stuff, and it just kind of went from there.
So, I mean, you're into basketball really heavy. How did you become well-versed in football?
I always wanted to play football as a kid, and the uncle I told you that took me in when I was 12, he played football, and his uncle, he's not my biological uncle, he's just an uncle that kind of was around and raised me. His uncle played for the Broncos. His name is Haven Moses, and his jersey's retired. So when I moved in with them, life was football. You know, so I was just like, oh my God, I want to play this game. I want to know this game. So every Sunday I would sit by the TV with him and just listen to him talk about everything. And I just was such a sponge at that age. I was just absorbing everything and learning plays, you know, asking the right questions and figuring it out. And then it got to the point where when I was in high school, I could call out plays. I could call out what was going to happen. I knew, you know, everything. I just felt like I knew it, and I've always been that girl that was around guys talking about sports, and I know certain things, and they all look like, whoa, like how does she know that? You know, so it just kind of grew from my love of the game and my uncle, you know, telling me about the game for the most part.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to sports and broadcast, sometimes you have to have knowledge. Going to school doesn't necessarily help you.
Exactly.
You know the terms and plays and all that. Do you think sometimes those networks seek out just for the looks, or they have to have knowledge? I mean, it was different back then, I guess, compared to now. But, I mean, what do you think the issue was?
Well, what I think happens is they hire puppets. They hire people that will be okay with regurgitating whatever the news is in their eyes. You know, I speak about this a lot. There's a lot of players and athletes who are really great, who are really amazing, but when the networks decide this is our guy, these are our guys, they're only going to highlight these guys. They're not going to highlight these other people. You know, they have people put in place to do this, and there are a lot of broadcasters or people in the field that don't mind saying whatever it is that someone else is telling them to say. You know, and it doesn't mean it's not true that this person isn't amazing. It's just that there are so many other talented people that I would rather my opinions of who I think is great be on a show that I'm on, as opposed to the producers and the directors coming down telling me, hey, this is the guy we're propping up this week, so we have to highlight all of his stuff. And I'm like, well, but what about this guy? This guy, you know, blah, blah, blah. So they hire people that will do whatever it is that they want, and they don't like people like me that are very opinionated, that have a voice and know it and want to, you know, talk about it, because we get them in trouble. You know, we get them in trouble with their sponsors and all the agendas and things that they want. So they find exactly what they want, and if you want to be there, you have to play by their rules, and I'm obviously a rule breaker. So I feel like that's kind of what has hindered my career, is that I won't be a puppet. No one's putting their fingers up my ass and telling me what to say. Like, I'm going to say what I think.
Yeah. I mean, I watch Around the Horn, and I find it interesting because it's, you know, they go toe-to-toe, they argue, make points. So as far as you speaking your mind, like, what would it be? Would it be like on a political stance, or as far as like what politics in the sport, or you talking about just the game period and who's trash and who's not?
Well, once you get to a certain level, like the show Around the Horn, I watch it occasionally, but not too much. But once you get to a show like that, your opinions are welcomed. But when you do like main, like Sports Center or like certain shows, they will have an agenda. And if you go against it, you can be typecast and you can kind of be slowly faded out. You can see it with some people. I don't really like to bring up people's names because I don't like to mess with their money and what they're trying to do. You know what I mean? So, but Around the Horn would be perfect for me, I feel like. I don't know why they haven't called yet. Like, I don't even get it. But I think it's just because the NFL and a lot of people up top don't want me to have any type of shine. They don't want anybody to even respect me or feel me, because a lot of people say, like, I can't believe you don't have your own show. Like, it's crazy. And I go, I know. It's crazy, but...
Do you think it's near?
The only way that I think I would have my own show is if I decided to play by people's rules. And I've contemplated it a couple of times. I really have. But when I look at my bank account, I mean, it just doesn't make me feel like wanting to play by the rules. It makes me feel like being myself, you know, and that's something that a lot of people don't get to do. So I like that there aren't a lot of people like me, and I like that I have a small following, but they are loyal and they are true to me, and they love what I say and do because they know it's fact. Mm-hmm. And I don't go out of my way to hurt anybody. I just tell the truth, and if you don't like the truth, then that's fine. You know, we can move on, but that people that follow me and respect me know that whatever I'm saying, it comes with knowledge. It comes with information and history of things. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, one day I want to do my dream job, honestly, not a dream job, but kind of is. I want to be on NBA on TNT with Chuck and Shaq and Ernie and Kenny. That was my dream job. Like, I've always wanted to be the only female on that show. Mm-hmm. Do I think it's going to happen? No. But I'm still not going to give up on it. Yeah. I'm just going to hold out, and one day if I ever sit on that stage, it's going to be like the best feeling ever.
What do you think about the whole situation?
Man, my point of view, man, I really feel like they tried to paint a bad picture on my brother and tried to make him look like he was a hater. It was some envy, jealousy type shit, you know what I'm saying? And actuality, you know what I'm saying? Bro been having this shit, man. He been in the condo.
I got my hat on and I had my Coke bottles up under my hat. And I'm sitting at the dinner table like an asshole with the hat on, knowing she gonna tell me to take it off. And I'm just sitting there just gulping down, you know, in my zone. She said, take that goddamn hat off at the dinner table. I'm like, come on, Mom. Coke everywhere.